I'll do it later. These four words that every procrastinator thinks, especially when it comes to a task that is important, but it might seem overwhelming or we don't know where to start from. So these are the four words that we usually say. I'll do it later. But then later never comes. And before you know it, you're just drowning in a sea of unfinished tasks. People don't know about procrastination a lot, and when they see it, they actually blame it as laziness. Or maybe they bombard you with time management skills and techniques that you can use. But for many of us, and I'm talking about especially high achievers and perfectionists, procrastination is usually a sign of something deeper. And sometimes it can be a sign of burnout. Hi, I'm Vassia, and welcome to my channel, where we focus on helping high achievers, perfectionists, people who want to make a change, people who care, people who want to have an impact on the world, people like you who want to overcome perfectionism, procrastination, and burnout, so that you can, and I'm going to say something cliche here, you can reach your true potential. But actually what I mean with this cliche is that people who want to live their life, they don't want to worry about perfectionism and about anxiety and about stress and about procrastination all the time. There's so many things that we care about in the world. We want to travel. We want to fall in love. We want to make quick decisions instead of just overthinking and overthinking. There's so much to life than just always being occupied with negative thinking and overcoming mental health struggles. So today we're diving into this connection between procrastination and burnout and how you can break free from this cycle in order to boost your productivity. At the end of the day, yes, we want to be productive and very useful. Before we get started, I want to invite you to a free webinar that I'm hosting at the end of this month, and it's called From Depleted to Radiant, Reclaiming Energy and Productivity Amidst Burnout. It's going to be packed with actionable strategies to help you overcome burnout and reclaim your energy. So I'm going to talk to you more about this later, but stick around. Let's understand a little bit the link between burnout and procrastination. Procrastination is this frustrating, I know how frustrating it is, frustrating habit of putting tasks off, sometimes until the very last minute. I've talked about this before. There is a biological, actually, reason that explains procrastination. Procrastination is the solution that your brain finds to a specific problem. Procrastination is not the problem. It's the solution to the problem. The problem is that you're overwhelmed with a task to such a degree that your brain is really fed up with it. Your brain cannot take it anymore. So procrastination is the coping mechanism, and then it shuts down everything. I'm not going to handle anything at the moment. I'm not going to do any task. I am seeking for some temporary relief. We don't know that it's temporary, but we're seeking relief. For example, we're watching a series on Netflix, or maybe going on social media, or maybe answering emails that they're not so important. So this is the temporary relief that the brain finds. It's a brain thing. Your brain is overwhelmed. When you're also burned out, your brain is overloaded with stress, and your energy levels are completely depleted. And this makes it completely difficult, incredibly hard, to master the motivation to start or even finish anything. So I've worked with many clients who are top performers. I'm talking about doctors, executives, politicians, entrepreneurs. And one common thread that I see is that they are burned out. Too many decisions, too much responsibility, too many tasks, too little time. And when they are burned out, what I see in all of them is that they start procrastinating on even the smallest and simplest tasks. It's not that they don't care. It's more about that they are mentally and emotionally exhausted. The word procrastination is coming from a Greek word, the word akrasia, which means that we are doing something against any logical explanation. Even though your rational brain says, well, tomorrow you have a deadline. You need to be working on that. It's an emotional blockage that says, but we cannot. But we're not going to do anything now. We're going to wait until the last minute. I cannot handle anything. We have pushed ourselves so hard for so long that the brain just doesn't listen to us anymore. Do you get it? And remember, this thing with the brain is really important. And our strategies at the end of this video will be based on how to reverse this effect on the brain. It's the brain that does the procrastination. It's not you. You're not lazy. It's not a personality thing. Don't worry. It becomes a personality, or it seems like a personality trait, because we have been doing that for so long, forever. We have been procrastinating so much. We have been stuck in this coping mechanism that we haven't found any other coping mechanism, that it has become kind of a trait for us. But it doesn't mean that this is impossible to change. Burnout and procrastination, they create a vicious circle. The more burned out you are, the harder it is to start tasks. And that means procrastinate. And the more you procrastinate, the more stress and anxiety you feel, of course, because of the time pressure and because of the guilt that happens with procrastination, which only deepens the burnout. It's like a snowball effect, a snowball rolling downhill. And by the time you realize what's happening, it's already out of your control. I remember a client of mine, Sarah. She was a high-powered attorney, and she was always on top of your game. That's another thing that we need to remind ourselves. When we have been always on top of our game with no break, there's a disaster about to happen. So at some point, she started noticing that she couldn't bring herself to draft even the simplest legal documents. She would stare at the screen. She could not concentrate. She would be there hours, paralyzed. And the more she procrastinated, you know that, we talked about the circle, the more anxious she became and the worse her burnout got. So it only changed when she started working on addressing her burnout, and we did a really good work together for 6 months, that she was able to break this cycle, not only break it, but also make sure she will not go into this cycle again. That's the thing, because sometimes we just get out of the cycle but continue the habits that we were doing before, and then a couple of years down the road, again, burnout. But this was not the case. What do we do in order to overcome procrastination and combat burnout? First of all, what we need to do, and it's going to sound a little bit of paradoxical, allow procrastination. Why is that? Because when you don't allow procrastination, even though you're binge watching Netflix, still your brain is brewing over guilt. And on the background, your brain is calculating, if I start in 2 hours from now, then I'm going to be done by noon tomorrow. And if this part is done by noon, then the next part can start then. It doesn't matter. You think you're resting, but you're not resting. Your brain is getting stressed, is calculating, is trying to fit all the other things. But when you allow yourself procrastination, it means that you allow yourself to take a break. Remember, we talked about the brain. The brain hasn't had a break for a long time. So give yourself breaks between tasks, holidays, weekends. Breaks means also self-care. It means boundaries. When work is done, work is done. You switch off, you think about something else, you connect with your friends and your family, you don't think about work anymore. Your brain needs a break. That's the motto, actually, of this video. With no guilt, because the more you take a break, the more productive you're going to be, and sustainably productive you're going to be next. The second step is take small steps. Usually, as perfectionists, we overwhelm ourselves because we're thinking of the big picture. We're thinking that it's going to be a magnificent thing that's what we want to do. And we tend to overwhelm ourselves with unrealistic goals. The antidote for procrastination is small steps. Make it chewable so that the brain will not go into the coping mechanism of shutting down because this is too much for me to take, right? So what we want is make it small, make it manageable. Even if you got a big project, focus on just the small steps. Break it down in small steps. And my third tip is actually focus on just the first step. Don't look at the millions of steps that you need to take. That can be overwhelming. Anything that you can do so that your brain doesn't get overwhelmed is magic. It's the antidote to procrastination. Focus only on the first step. You want to start a blog, for example, and there are a million steps, and you need to, I don't know, find pictures, or you need to edit, or you need to find somebody to proofread it, or you need to find the topics that you're going to write. I know it's a lot. What is the first step that you want to take? Maybe the first step is just register the domain name, or just find one topic, one that you want to start talking about. What's only the first step? If every day you focus on only the first step, then your brain feels that, okay, we can do that. Let's go. Instead of, oh, stop. That's not okay. Back off. And my last step is prioritize. We know that we're perfectionists, we're leaders, we are people responsible for other people. We tend to cram our agendas with a lot of things, a lot of tasks, a lot of projects. But start your day with focusing on 3 tasks that are the most important. Instead of having everything in one bag, everything is as important as any other task, pick 3 that they are important for this specific day. No more than 3. Maybe you have time at the end of the day to tackle more, but it doesn't matter. We have to start with what's important. So pick 3 that are important. Setting priorities is a big thing. How often do you find yourself stuck in this cycle? Let me know. What's one small, that's a task for you. What's one small task that you can start today? In order to recap, we said procrastination is not about poor time management. If you do only time management without actually understanding what is the overwhelm and how we can stop the brain being overwhelmed, then you're doing half of the job. And maybe you're not going to do it for a long time. Procrastination is a sign of overwhelm, and in many cases, a deeper burnout. By breaking tasks into smaller steps, by taking more breaks so that we can relieve our brain, by prioritizing the tasks, by prioritizing self-care and focusing on progress rather than on perfection, then you can start overcoming procrastination and, of course, beat burnout. If you're feeling stuck and you want to dive deeper into strategies like this, don't miss my free webinar at the end of the month. And I'm talking about the end of month September. It's going to be packed with actionable tips. We are going to understand how we can regain our energy, because that's what's missing, the energy, the motivation, the joy about things that we used to love. And you can find the link to sign up in the description below. I can't wait to see you there. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take good care of yourself and don't forget to subscribe.